So the first topic for today is soap versus rest. As I hope you all are comfortable with soap, rest, what is the meaning of soap full form, and soap is my protocol, rest is my architecture, and the versions and all. So today I'll start what is the difference between soap and rest and how both works. As I explained this thing, XML works with soap and all. Okay, let's start. First is the topic is soap and rest. As I said, soap is my protocol and rest is my architecture, and the meaning of both, like how I could use it within my soap UI tool. It will be same. Like I'll send the response, I'll send the request, and I'll get back the response. And how it works? Soap is used with XML. These all things we are already done. And rest can be used with XML or JSON. Okay, and if I said soap is going to use with XML, and surely it will be used in two parts, soap with request and soap with response. Request is something which browser will send. Browser means the user. The end user will send to the server, and the response is something which I'll get back from the server. And same case for rest. If I say rest can work with XML and JSON, and rest with XML is not as much used, but rest with JSON is very famous, and we'll also work on rest with JSON only. And how it will work? Again, the pattern will remain same. I'll send a request and get back the response from the server, like this only. Clear? So the way how both works is same, but the difference is soap actually works with something else and rest works with some different URLs or WSDL like this. Let's talk about the working. Soap works with WSDL, it's WSDL file, and rest works with WADL or the URLs. So WSDL, it's WSDL. What is the meaning of WSDL, WADL, URLs? Now we'll discuss about this thing. Okay. So WSDL is what? Can you hear me? It's a done. So WSDL file is something which will contain all the services which that web service could provide. So the full form for WSDL is Web Services Description Language. Okay, so what is the meaning of WSDL? It's a kind of URL, a complete URL, which will tell how many services and what kind of services that web service could provide. We'll discuss how it works, but I'm just explaining what will be contained within WSDL file. I'll give you the demo for WSDL. Just give me a minute. I'll show you how it works and how it looks actually. Will look like this, and can you see? This is the API. As yesterday I think Gaurav was saying, what is the difference between API testing and all? As everything is same, only the difference is the front end like this. This is my API, and if I click on WSDL, the link here, can you see? This is the WSDL. WSDL means it will contain all the services which are provided by that particular application. Clear? So this is all just related to my soap, and even I'll show you how it works when we'll move on to our tool. Okay, so WSDL is something which will contain all the services which are provided by this retail app. This is the API for my retail app. Clear? So now let's talk about the REST and WADL and URLs. As I said, we'll work on our own application which will be deployed on our local host. Okay, so REST retail application is one of them. I'll work on retail. So if I talk about the REST, I'll say REST will work with URLs. And what will be the URLs? Anyone? What is URL? It's Uniform Resource Locator, and it is actually linked with the protocols. It's HTTP protocol or HTTPS. These are the protocols with which URL is present. Here, it will work with HTTP, HTTPS or FTP. There are many protocols, or SMTP like this. These are the protocols, and we mainly work with HTTP in our retail application here. So these are the URLs on which we'll work, and these are directly related to my REST based retail application. Here it is like this. So this is one of the URL. Okay, so what is, there are many parts in my URL. Can you see? It's HTTP, and it is this URL, hypertext type protocol. This is one of the protocol, and this is a messaging protocol which will help me to send a message and get back the response like this. And the rest about this localhost retail app, I'll discuss about this thing also, but for the time I'm just saying a REST will work with the URLs. A list of URLs will be there like this. This was the first URL, this is the second, and a list of URLs. And here, here it is. So this is one of the URL. This is the second URL. Okay. So these are the two. I'm just giving you the example. And yes, one more thing, when you are going to test any of the application, the developer will give you what? The developer will give you, in case of REST, he will give you all the list of URLs with which you can move on to that site. You can look into the various services, right? And when I'm talking about my SOAP-based my application, he will give you this WSDL document, this link. With this link, you can understand, you can get what are the various kind of services which that particular application provides. Clear? So in case of SOAP, what you will get? You will get this WSDL doc. It's this link. And in case of REST, you will get the list of all the URLs. The developer will give you the list of all the URLs with which you can move on, you can find, you can understand what are the various services. So can you please tell me what is WSDL? This is something which will contain all the list of services which are provided by that particular web service. Clear? And what is the meaning of a single URL? This is a single service. People get confused over here. Clear? So these all are the URLs, are the list of all the services which are provided by that particular application, and the single link is a single service. This is a single separate service. Clear? So this is the only difference between how SOAP and REST works. And yes, on the back end there is a complete functionality which is different. Okay, we'll understand about this when we will move on to our tool, SOAPUI tool. Okay, now let's talk about the next thing. There is an official website for REST, from where you can understand how REST works actually in case of your tool when you will work. Here it is. Yeah. So it will give you the complete detail of everything, how it works. Clear? So there are many things which we are already done. Can you see here? This is the SOAP request. How it looks, it is giving me how my SOAP request looks from here. Let us copy this and here. I hope you all are comfortable with these tools. This words, envelope, body and header is not there because it is not mandatory to write headers and all. But SOAP, within a SOAP envelope, as it is giving you the version of XML which it is using. And one more very important thing, SOAP works with XML, and here it is in the format of XML only. Clear? And if I say I want to write the same thing, REST with JSON, how I will write? I will write a key value pair. So the user ID will be the key. For my case, I'll start with the curly braces, and the key here it's user, and the value it's here, this. So the content will remain same. If I say I want to write one more key value pair, it will be separated with a comma. This is the only thing. The front end is very simple for the case of REST, and for the SOAP there is this is not difficult, but confusion part is here. So that's why I'll prefer REST, and yes, REST is more useful, REST is more famous these days. Okay, and the complete functionality you will understand after 20-30 minutes when we move on to our tool, SOAPUI tool. Clear? So, any doubt? This is about these 3 topics. We are done. Okay, let's talk about the softwares which I do need for the case of if I want to work with SOAPUI tool, my REST based application like this. So the list of softwares we do need, I'll start with the very basic thing. It's JDK, it's for Java. I'll tell you why I do need it, but Java, then XAMPP, or I'll write here or MySQL or Apache Tomcat. So JDK is used for what, XAMPP is used for what, and Apache Tomcat. Now the thing is here. Let us understand why do I need this Apache Tomcat, MySQL and this JDK. Here can you see this Vistal link? This is something which is present on my local host, right? Localhost is what? It's third party location on which I'll store. It will actually act as my server, right? So in case of my SOAP, let us write for SOAP only. If I'm talking about SOAP, I do need XAMPP. XAMPP is for what? XAMPP will be used for server as well as for my database. As I said, I'll work on my retail application whose API will be like this. This is for SOAP only. Okay, I'll show you for REST. This is the API for my retail application, and this is the front end on which you could see. So the server on my server, my retail application is deployed. I'll work on my retail application. It is deployed on my third party location, which is the XAMPP. It is actually working on XAMPP. So what about the database? For the case of XAMPP, what will be the database? Anyone? If any one of you know. For the case of XAMPP, MySQL, here, see. XAMPP contains these 4 to 5 softwares within this only. It's Apache, MySQL, FileZilla and all. But we'll work on these two. If I'm saying I'm working on SOAP, let us compare first. If I'm saying I'm working on SOAP, I do need this XAMPP only, right? I said this thing. Within XAMPP there are 4 to 5 things, which depends on if you have Apache Tomcat or not. If I say it's 5, as in my case, it is showing me 5. So let it be 5. Within 5, only 2 things I do need, server and the database. So from XAMPP, Apache is acting as its server, and MySQL is actually acting as its database. Database is something in which I'll store, I'll update and all. Right, so database, if you remember yesterday I did explain about the bank example in which the database is something where I'll store the information and all. So for the case of database, what I'll use? I'll use MySQL. So here I'll write, for the case of database, I'll use MySQL. Clear? This is for SOAP only. So let's talk about the REST now. For the case of REST, I don't need the same thing, server and the database, but here something will change. I don't need this server, I don't need for the backend functionality as my database. Here the server will be what and the database will be what? For the case of REST, I'll use Apache Tomcat. This is very important thing. So for the server, I'll work on Apache Tomcat, and for the case of database, I'll work on what? I have two options here. In case of REST, two options, I can go for XAMPP or I can go for MySQL only. Why XAMPP? As MySQL is enough. MySQL is enough for the database connection. And yes, anyone? Okay, I'll tell you. For the case of XAMPP, I'll use only MySQL. If I'm saying I'm working on REST, I do need same thing, which I do need here. SOAP needs two things, server and database, and I'll use XAMPP only for the case of SOAP. Within XAMPP, these two operations I could perform simultaneously. But what about REST? For the case of REST, I'll work on Apache Tomcat. It's the server. And what about database? Database, I'll select directly MySQL, or you can use only XAMPP as directly from the SOAP, but from the XAMPP, I'll just use MySQL. I'll not use this Apache only. This one. Clear? I hope it's clear. So when I'll deploy my retail application for case of SOAP, I'll use XAMPP only, and if I'll deploy my retail application for the case of REST, I'll use Apache Tomcat and XAMPP. Or instead of XAMPP, you can directly go to MySQL, and I'll prefer XAMPP because if you have XAMPP, you can work on SOAP as well as REST. So REST is your wish, what you want, and these two softwares are clear, I think, XAMPP and Apache. Now let's talk about why do I need this JDK. If Apache Tomcat is running on your PC, Nandini, just a minute, I'll give the answer. Just a minute. So for JDK, if I'm working on Apache Tomcat, I do need this Java, it's JDK, and I'll prefer as Apache Tomcat. For Apache Tomcat to run, we do need JDK. It's like this, and there are many versions, and even I'll prefer 1.6 only. The highest version is 1.8. You can go for 1.8, but it's better if you'll work on 1.6. Okay, so for Apache Tomcat, I do need JDK, and for SOAP and REST, I do need server. Okay, your question was, is XAMPP a tool? See, XAMPP is not a tool. XAMPP is the server. It's third-party location where I'll deploy. If I say I'm working on Facebook.com, it is present on the server, right? So the same thing, if I'll work on retail application, I'll deploy my own application on the third-party location, and for the SOAP, the third-party location is XAMPP only. And for the case of REST, third-party location, I mean a server, will be Apache Tomcat. Is it clear? I'll explain it with the help of diagram also. Just give me a minute. Here it is. So if I'm saying this is my browser, this is my server. We are working on the browser, and here it is server. It's third party location, or else it's third party location. I'll send message. Message means what here? Message means the request. I'll send the request in the format of XML. If I'm saying I'm working on SOAP, and if I'm saying I'm working on REST, I'll say the request is in the form of JSON. I hope these all things are clear. I'll send request to my server from my browser, right? I'll send request, and what I'll get back? I'll get back the response. Response in the same format, XML or JSON, in which I send the request. Or there are many options in our tool with which I could change. Okay, but I'll here say in the same format I'll get back, so that browser could also understand what he sent request, and what one is getting back, the response. So for the case of SOAP, what will be the server? For the case of SOAP, my server will be XAMPP only, and from the XAMPP I'll work on Apache, which is coming from A here. And if I say I'm working on REST, so what will be my server? It is Tomcat. Clear? And for Tomcat I do need this JDK. I hope now it's clear. Any doubt? Anyone? Is it clear? Many people get confused over here. What is server and why it's XAMPP for SOAP, why it's Tomcat like this. Okay, if you have any doubt you can ask me. Okay, one question. In real-time projects with all REST application will be deployed on Apache server. See, as I said, our facebook.com, this is not deployed on Apache Tomcat or XAMPP. Right, it is present on third-party location where I send request and I get back the response, where we all do. So here I'm just saying Apache Tomcat will be my server for retail application only. And if you say why we are working on this retail application instead of any shopping site or directly facebook.com, it is not possible because database is not in my hands. Right, but for the rest, as I said, I'll work on retail application, and its database is also I could change. I'll show you how database works and how we could update, how we could insert, how we could select and all. In the case of database also. Clear? And the database for the case of REST will be, I did explain everything now. Okay, I hope it's clear. Okay, so the next topic is installation. And yes, as I said, JDK 1.6 you do need Apache Tomcat. And about XAMPP, I'll share the XAMPP as with the new version of XAMPP there are some issues, so I'll share my own XAMPP and I'll share the link, or I'll directly share this application for XAMPP. Okay, the next thing is database setup for application. Very interesting and very important thing. Database setup. Here, the thing which I'm explaining from last 10 minutes, I do need the database MySQL. Let's see how it works. I'll firstly MySQL from here. You'll open the command prompt, and yes, when you will install, as both software XAMPP and Apache is already installed on my PC, so here it will look like this. After installing XAMPP, it will be over here a folder named as XAMPP. You could see all these files. So these are for XAMPP. And what about Apache Tomcat? After installing JDK, you will install this Apache Tomcat. And here is the folder. If you found any issue, any query related to its installation, you can contact me. Okay, I'll help you. So here it is. It will look like this. So these all are the folders like this. Done. This is for Apache Tomcat and XAMPP only. So now here I'll show you how it works. How I could make the database. How I could work. Just a minute. Here it is. Yes, database setup. I'll set up the database for my own retail application, and here. Firstly, I'll move on to the location where my database is present. Where it is? Under C, XAMPP and MySQL and bin. I'll get this link. I'll firstly reach the location where this application as MySQL is present. It is present under bin. I'll copy this path and okay, I'll share. Prabodh is saying please share, and I'll share all the links from where we could install and where I could download firstly, and then you could install. I'll write cd, change the directory and move on to this location, this path, and then enter. You could see I am now on this location under bin folder. Next is what? Next here under db commands, firstly I do need to set a password. You can use it without password, but for the case of rest you will see we do need password, so I'll set the password from the very first command. It's like this. You will copy this. I'll share this notepad file with you. You'll just write mysql admin -u root. So -u is what? It's the user. The username will be root. You can set any of the username, and the password I'm setting here as pass as. You can again use any of the password. You'll just copy this thing and paste it over here like this. I'll copy it and like this, and just enter. You will see you are able to make your username as root and password as pass, and then you will log in like this. How? It's MySQL. I want to enter within MySQL -u as the username is root, which I just set over here, and -p. I'll not enter here password. It's -p. Then I'll just enter. You could see it's giving here the option for pass, and here I'll write the password. What it is giving me, can't connect to MySQL server. Why? Because after installing XAMPP, I didn't turn on here MySQL. I'll turn it from here. This is the control panel from where you can turn on your Apache server or MySQL or Tomcat directly. I turn on my MySQL from here, and can you see it is giving you many things. It's giving me PID, process ID, port on which port it is working, and 3306 is the port on which it will work by default. It will directly select this port, and you can also change your port, but we don't need to change, but we'll work on 3306. And after turning it on, come back to command prompt and write here one more question. Just a minute, let me complete this thing first. Just a minute. MySQL -u root, username is root, and -p it's pass. Now what it is giving me something, it's not giving me same thing, can't connect to MySQL server. It is giving me the server, the port on which it is working and all. So here again, as I said, it is something else. It is not the same thing, and here it is not that location, that path. I'm here getting MySQL as my tab, from where I'll write now the commands and make the database here. Clear? Okay, the question is that DOS command that you are using in command prompt or some script. Yes, this is the from where I could get, just right here command prompt. I do need just a command prompt, and here it is. Okay. Okay, now let's see how I could set up the database within this notepad file. I am here giving you everything, how we could set up the database, how we could make the database. Okay, within database we have many things, and here if I'm talking about MySQL as my database, within database how I am able to reach at my MySQL. I hope now it's clear. From XAMPP I'm turning on my MySQL, then I'm moving on to command prompt and writing here cd and the path. Here I'm writing the path where my XAMPP is present within my derive and all. Then MySQL till the bin path. I'm moving on to this bin folder at last, and then setting the password Next thing is what? After setting the password, after entering the password, I am able to reach within my database as my MySQL, right? Next is what? Next is to see what is present within my database, tables and all. I'll now discuss about this thing. Within database, actually a database is database contains many tables. So what I could say for database is a collection of tables, or instead of tables I'll say collection of many information or related to your retail to your applications. Anyone, in my case it's retail application only. Clear? So database, in the database many tables will be present, and you will see here I'm here writing create database retail like this. So this is the command to create a database. You can write any of the name over here. If I say create database as, how I will write create database instead of retail, say if I write here Facebook, what it is giving me? Query OK, one row affected. What does it mean? I am able to create the database. So let's see if database is created or not. Then the command to see the list of all the database is this, show databases. With this you can see the list of all the databases which are already present within my MySQL, and it is giving you here, it's Facebook. So Facebook is now the part of my MySQL, and this is my database. And if you want to work on Facebook or any of the table or any of the database which are present, you will write use the database name. Say if I want to work on Facebook database, I'll write use database, and it is giving me database changed. Clear? I hope it's clear. And these two commands will work in the same manner. Create database retail and use the current database. And after creating the database, what you will do? You will make the tables, and the command to create the table, a list of commands we don't need. It's create table, and I'll just copy it. You can also use it from here. What it is giving? Query OK. After writing this create table, the table name, what I am getting? Query OK, 0 row affected. And if I write here show tables, show tables will give me the list of all the tables which are present within that particular database. It is giving me category. And if I want to see what is present within my category table, I'll write describe category. The table name should be same. It is giving you the list, it's giving you the columns, the fields with how many fields are there, the data type and the key. Okay, we'll discuss about this thing now. What we did right within my category as my table, and here it is. I am here making the two fields, creating the two fields, cat ID and the cat name, and these are the things which are related to my cat ID as my column name. Int is what? Int is the integer data type. Not null, these all are the constraints. I hope some of you know. If you don't know, I'll explain it in a very easy manner. It's not null means the value can't be null. Auto increment means it will be incremented by its own. I'll just write the value for cat name, and the cat ID value will be incremented by itself by 1, and auto incrementation is by 1 only. And for the case of cat name, varchar is the data type, and 100 is what? I'm just setting the limit of how many, what will be the limit of my cat name, as its value could vary till 100 only, and varchar is variable character like this. It will work. And primary key is again the constraint for my cat ID. Right? Primary key is the key which can't be repeat and which can't be null. As here for the cat ID, I am setting it as not null. And unique is something again which is not repeated like this. Is it clear? Is it clear about this table creation only? So in the same manner, okay, in the same manner, I'll work on the product table. I'll again create the table, and many constraints I'm setting. Product ID is one of my field, cat ID, product name. I'll again copy this command and paste it over here. Control C to copy, and here it is, and paste, yes, then enter. And can you see here again the same thing, query okay, 0 row affected, fine. Is it necessary to use command prompt? Okay, just a minute, let me complete this thing, then I'll come back to your question. It's again giving me the same thing which I was getting, query okay. And if you want to see how many tables are now present within my database Facebook, I'll use show tables, and now it's 2 tables it is giving me, right? And to see what is present within any of the particular table, I'll just write describe product, and it is giving me all the fields, all the constraints over my table, over my any one of the table which I am describing. This is describe product. I hope now it's clear. So let's talk about the fields over here. Product ID is my first field, cat ID. It's not null, int is the data type, not null, auto increment, again fine, int. We already discussed with these things. We are done with this. We all know how it works. Now what about primary key? Primary key is something which we can't repeat, which is not same, and which can't be null. These are the constraints. And here prod ID is my primary key. Foreign key, okay, I'll come back to foreign key, but firstly unique. Unique is something which is not repeated, and for this product table, product name is my unique. Again same thing for as for my category name. Let's discuss about this thing now. Foreign key. Foreign key is something which will act as a key which is the primary key in some other table. Just a minute. Here. Okay. These things covered, done. Here. Let's discuss about this. It is giving me what? Foreign key is cat ID. Cat ID is coming from where it is coming? It is even writing here references. Category, this is the table name from where it is getting this foreign key, it's cat ID, and it is writing here cat ID. From the category table, get the reference to this cat ID and use it as a foreign key. So foreign key is something which is primary key in this table, from the table where it is referencing. So cat ID is the primary key, and it will be the foreign key for this table. So do you know about the concept of foreign key, primary key, and references, which I did explain? Because this is a very important thing. I'll work on the when we'll work on the JSON object, JSON request. We do need to know all these things. Okay, foreign key, it's clear. I think it's clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Now come back to the question. What is the purpose of making a foreign key? Okay, is it necessary to use only command prompt? Can we use ID like SQL or Workbench to work with this? Okay, yes, we can work with SQL log or not, but actually as I'm working on XAMPP, I work on MySQL directly from the command prompt. This is the easier way, I think. And yes, the user interface is there for some databases, but it is better. Yes, if you are comfortable with that too, you can work. Okay, but the functionality is same. Functionality will remain same. How it will look, how it will work. And the next question was, what is the purpose of making a foreign key? Okay. Purpose of making a foreign key, yes, good question. For the case of my category table, I'm just making category ID and category name as my 2 fields, 2 columns, right? And what about product? Product is something which is coming from the category. How many products are there within a particular category? Say if my category is furniture. I'll show you even this thing. Say if my category is furniture. Furniture. And how many products can come within furniture? A list of products are possible to come within my furniture as my category. Furniture like tables, chair, or table stand, or a list of furniture I could use as my category. Right, so product is something which was present under a particular category. So category ID is the primary key, and for this category table I'll simply write furniture as my category. And for the case of product, if I want to add table, I should mention in which category you want to add this particular product. It will work like this. Okay. So if I am trying to add the product name as Samsung, if I am trying to add this product, say if this is my product, it will surely ask you under which category you want to add. Under a mobile phone, Samsung as my mobile, or under a television, or under a washing machine, or any of the furniture like this. Samsung is the brand, or you can use Samsung as your category and use the product as mobile or television or LED like this. Clear? So product is something which is present under my category, under any of my category. So we do need this thing. So this is for my retail application only. Is this clear how we could set up? Let's talk about the last command. So foreign key will prompt you add one question here. So foreign key will prompt you to add it to a category. Yes, actually when okay, just a minute, right here. If I'll write here, select star, just a minute brother, select star from, this is the command, table Facebook doesn't exist, table name should be same, select star, and it is giving me empty. I don't have anything within this category table. And if I describe this category ID, can you see here you are saying we will make it as it can't be null category. Yes, I'm setting it as no null. The value can't be null within this cat ID. Okay, and the value for foreign key can't be null even. It should be mapped to any one of the primary key, any one of the value from the table to which it is actually referencing. It's like this. Okay, and we'll understand in more depth when we'll work. This is all about how we could set up the database for my application. Okay, till this part it's done. Now it's installing the retail app. Come back to the same notepad file. Okay, one more question here. It's what stand for in a key field for category ID. Okay, here the key is primary key. The keys for the product ID it's primary, and for the product name we did set it unique and primary key. And what about this mul? Gaurav is saying what about this MUL for the category ID? It means it could accept multiple values for this category ID only. So for a product it could be the part of multiple categories. It is working like this. And if I am saying unique means only a single value will be the product name. Is it clear? For cat ID, multiple values could be the part of that category ID under a product. Okay, and in our case we'll work on a single value only, but this can be the case. That's why I'm setting here multiple values are possible for the category ID only. Okay, this is all about the databases. So let's talk about how I could install the retail application. Gaurav, if you have any other doubt, I'll discuss about this after the class, okay? So here, how I could install the retail application on my server. In case of SOAP, as I did explain, in case of SOAP, we'll work on XAMPP. And here's XAMPP. In this folder, in this location, see XAMPP htdocs, you will deploy your retail application. And what about the REST-based retail application? C, program files, Apache software, Tomcat, and web apps. Here, this is the location. And now I'll just show you how retail application will be deployed for the case of REST only, because we'll work on REST only. On this location, just note down this path. After installing Apache Tomcat on your PC, you will reach at this location, web apps. Next, I'll copy this folder. Here it is. I'll share these both folders with you. We do need this retail app REST. This is the retail app which is for REST. You'll just copy this folder and paste it over C, program files. I'm talking about Tomcat server, Tomcat and web apps. Into this location, you'll just paste this folder here. So in this way, you are able to deploy, and this is the way for just to see if it is deployed or not. But the actual working we will see from the tool only. Okay. So for the case of Tomcat, as REST will work on Tomcat only, I'll start it from here. I'll turn it on from here and I'll say yes. It is turning on. Yes, it is turned on, and can you see PID is assigned and ports are assigned to this. And by default 8080 will be the port for your Apache Tomcat. Okay, and yes, one more thing, for the case of Apache Tomcat, this port is only used. You can also change, but as I said, we'll not change. We'll just close other applications which are going on onto your PC. Skype is one of that application which will block this port. So please close all other applications which you are not using, and then try to install this Apache Tomcat. Okay, turn on your Tomcat from here, and to see if your Tomcat is running fine or not, you will write localhost, and here the port on which Tomcat is working is 8080. It's by default port is 8080 only. Tomcat colon 8080. When you'll enter, it is when you will get such kind of screen, it means your Tomcat is running fine. And if I stop it from here, yes, and it is okay, it's done. It's not working now. And if I'll enter localhost 8080, it will give you unable to connect. So it's clear. Tomcat is something which is the third party location, and it is working on 8080 as your port. And I'll again turn it on from here. Yes, and here. So the window like this for Apache Tomcat means Apache is running fine. Is it clear? And to deploy retail application, we'll just deploy this folder into this location. This is the path where your retail application will be deployed for the case of REST only. Clear? It's installing retail application. Any doubt? Till this it's done. Okay, then next topic is WSDL and WADL. We are already done with this thing. WSDL and WADL. WSDL and WADL, it's Web Application Description Language, and WSDL is Web Services Description Language. Web Services Description Language and Web Application Description WSDL, WSDL is used for SOAP and WADL is used for REST, plus we could use URLs, and we'll work on URLs only in our case. Clear? So this WSDL, WADL, both will contain the same thing. Okay, so let us do one thing. Just a minute, I'll explain you with a diagram here. This is the browser, this is the server. Browser will send the request to the server, and server will send back the response. We are already done. This is the browser and this is the server. So how many services that particular web service could provide will be given over here. This is nothing but WSDL or WADL or URL patterns. So from here, WSDL, WADL, URLs, server will actually decide how many services that particular web service could provide. Let us do one thing. If I remove it, server is over here. Actually the services will going to be like this. I'll send a request to server. This is my request, and then server will look into the WSDL or WADL how many services that particular web service could provide, and then from this it will get back the response, and that response is actually passed to browser. On the back end, WSDL and WADL actually works. Okay, so this is the way to work with the WSDL, WADL, URL patterns and all. Okay, the last thing is building the SOAP project. Can you please tell me which URL, which document I do need to build a SOAP project? Anyone?